It's Hotedition. We're live from our news hub at this hour. Kanda also live on 3FM 927 on Facebook and on YouTube as well. I am Alfred Ocansey. This evening here on Hotedition on 3FM 92.7, minority vows to block new taxes, cites hardship on Ghanaians, and also raises concerns about the matters as the concerns being faced by Ghanaians in South Africa in the wake of the government's measures to bring those who are willing back to Ghana. We'll give you an update on that particular development here on Hotedition. Also, we'll tell you about the Media Foundation for West Africa's statement on the number of persons who are standing trial for speeches or statements that were made that have been criminalized and been arrested by the Ghana Police Service. Will tell you exactly what reactions have been coming through as a result of this particular statement from the Media Foundation for West Africa here on Hotedition on 3FM 92.7. Also, Ghana's parliament amongst the most transparent in Africa. That's according to the Majority Leader, the Honorable Mahama Yariga. We'll give you details of that and more here on Hotedition on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Let's settle for a summary of the news now before we get into the details. Nura Mohammed is here. Nura?
Hello, Alfred. Quite the weather we have today,
Indeed.
Isn't it?
It's been a very cold, wet
Very,
one.
very cool. Well, starting off the summaries, we have the President, John Dramani Mahama, says government has launched a major secondary education improvement program backed by a $300 million World Bank facility aimed at upgrading the quality of senior high schools across the country. Speaking during a visit to inspect the implementation of science, technology, engineering and mathematics STEM education at Solar Primary School, the president explained that the program is designed to raise standards in selected senior high schools and eliminate long-standing disparities in school quality. Meanwhile, IMF Mission Chief for Ghana, Dr. Ruben Atoyan, has revealed that Ghana will have access to the final tranche of $318 million immediately after July 27, 2026. This is subject to the IMF board approving Ghana's sixth program review. Dr. Atoya noted that as soon as the board approves Ghana's final program the next day, he will move to sign the payslip for the funds to be released. Also in the summaries, the National Identification Authority (NIA) says it has successfully cleared a backlog of over 640,000 Ghana cards and significantly expanded its service delivery infrastructure both locally and abroad. Executive Secretary Wisdom Kweku Deku disclosed that the backlog was resolved in 2025 through coordinated efforts with technical partners in the supply of blank cards to district offices, enabling faster printing and distribution nationwide. Meanwhile, the Minister for Trade, Agribusiness and Industry, Honorable Elizabeth Ofosu-Adjare, is leading a high-powered Ghanaian delegation to the People's Republic of China as part of the government's intensified efforts to deepen bilateral economic cooperation and attract strategic investments into Ghana's industrial and agribusiness sectors. The strategic mission undertaken on the directive of the President of the Republic, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, forms part of the government's broader reset agenda, an industrial transformation program aimed at positioning Ghana as a leading trade, manufacturing and investment destination in Africa. And finally, in the summaries, Vice President Professor Nana Jane Opoku-Agyeman has directed the strict maintenance of newly acquired Metro Mass Transit MMT buses to ensure their longevity and efficient service delivery across the country. She gave the directive while inaugurating the new fleet of buses, which are expected to expand public transport services and ease commuter pressure, particularly during peak hours in urban centers. That's all for the summaries. Over to you, Alfred.
Nora, thank you so much. It's more news you can find on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Hotedition. We're live on 3FM 92.7 on Facebook and on YouTube. You can share your thoughts, your views, and comments with us as we go on. But first, here on Hotedition, the Media Foundation for West Africa is raising concerns over what it describes as the growing use of criminal laws to target free speech in Ghana. According to the increasing application of Section 76 of the Electronic Communications Act and Sections 207 and 208 of the Criminal Offences Act is contributing to the criminalization of free speech. particularly against journalists, bloggers, political activists, and ordinary citizens. In a report issued earlier today by the organization, that's the Media Foundation for West Africa, is saying it recorded 14 arrests linked to the enforcement of the laws within the first 16 months of the current National Democratic Congress administration. That figure compares with 8 similar arrests recorded during the entire 8-year administration of the erstwhile Akufo-Addo-led NPP. That is, the arrest with the use or application of Section 207 and 208 of the Criminal Offences Act, and also Section 6 of the Electronic Communications Act. So that's the perspective with which the Media Foundation puts out this number of arrests. That's the 14, with the application of these 2 specific regulations. The foundation argues that the laws, particularly Section 208 of the Criminal Offences Act and Section 76 of the Electronic Communications Act, are broadly worded and open to selective interpretation. It is therefore calling for a review of the application of the laws, warning that the current trend could undermine constitutional protections for freedom of speech and media independence. Now, we're going to be engaging the head of programs at Media Foundation for West Africa shortly, but first I want to take a look at the report, as in what the Media Foundation put out earlier today, and that when you go on our Facebook page at 3FM927, if you go on our Facebook page as well and our YouTube page, you can see the details of this number of the arrests, the 14 that the Media Foundation for West Africa has captured in their latest report. November 26, 2025, one radio presenter named Wendell Nanaya Yeboah was arrested after alleging 3 regional ministers, that's Ashanti, Eastern, and Western, were complicit in illegal mining. That's the Galamsey operations, and he was arrested under that's with the application of Section 207 and 208 of the Criminal Offences Act. The next that they captured in this report, the next person that they captured is also that same period, that's in 2025. You find the likes of other persons as well who have been arrested using this same Section 207 and 208 of Criminal Offences Act. It has become a major issue. One David Kojo Pra Afol, also known as Kwame Nkrumah II, is a TikToker arrested for allegedly making death threats and inciting violence during a TikTok live session referencing vehicles with official green number plates. Then there was the next person as well, Samuel Amadato, a blogger accused of a publication of false news about a former board chair of the National Communications Authority. The next person also captured in this Media Foundation for West Africa report is Kwame Bafo, that's Abronye DC, the Bono Regional Chair of the New Patriotic Party, who yesterday was granted bail, charged with offensive conduct conducive to breach of the peace and publication of false news. It was the first of the 2 arrests that Abronye, has been dealt with over the last at least 16 months that this Media Foundation for West Africa report covers. Then there is Achimkwa Nana Kofi Asari, who's also a One to Me TV presenter, picked up by unidentified armed men in a Jesu Krapa in the Ashanti region following on-air comments linking President Mahama to the fatal military helicopter crash. He was later found at the police headquarters here in Accra. And then there's Prince Ofori and Yaya Abil, they're popularly known as Fantic Comedy and Akosia Jollof. TikTokers, during a live TikTok session, made mocking comments about the helicopter crash victims and wished that President Mahama and Ghana Gold Board CEO Sami Jemfi, according to that particular live, TikTok session, they said they wish that they were there, or on that same helicopter. They were picked up on August 12, 2025. Then these are part of a number of instances captured in this particular report by the Media Foundation for West Africa. On August 12, 2025, same day, one Priscilla Dia Brago and Charity Dede Tete, national service persons and a beautician, they're also TikTokers, stated they would have been happier if President Mahama had been No, so they're all referencing this particular helicopter crash and all of the things that happened in there. In fact, these are the major reasons and the instances that led to their arrest. Now, let's get into the details of this particular report right now. And thankfully, we have Dora Malto, who's also been sharing health views with us, and quickly, the Director of Elections of the NDC, Madi Jibril, is also joining us on the telephone as well. Before we get to the Media Foundation for West Africa, Madi Jibril, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. Alfred.
First off, the specific concerns that persons who have raised issues with the number of persons who have been arrested with the application of Section 76 of the Electronic Communications Act and Sections 207 and 208 of Criminal Offences Act is because of the ambiguity in the meaning of this particular law, or in terms of its interpretation, which gives room for the police to then pick up anybody whom, based on their own interpretation, falls within the remits of that particular law. Now, there's been about 14 instances that Media Foundation for West Africa has catalogued in this latest report. People who have been arrested since the NDC came into office in 2025, January, to date. Does that concern you?
Alfred, I'm concerned rather on the report, that the report is very misleading, and I think that it is also a irresponsible report that they have put across. Alfred, the law that you mentioned, the NDC created it when we came to power. No. Two, it also tells you responsible opposition as against irresponsible opposition members.
What do you mean?
Under NDC, because we are responsible opposition, we're not doing what they were doing now. So you cannot judge, you cannot analyze that, okay, NDC was in opposition. Because they were not doing what NPP is doing today, nobody was arrested. The NPP now is in opposition. They have been irresponsible, using the social media to insult everybody, anybody, anyhow, and the law is dealing with them. Then the institution now will say, under the NDC, because we are too many irresponsible people misbehaving, and the law is dealing with them, it means that it's wrong under John Mahama. I think that this report is one of the useless reports that somebody will put across.
If it's useless, I mean, they are highlighting the number of instances that this particular law has been applied, and the reason why they say that the interpretation, they are talking about the law in itself, and the fact that it has actually been a matter of concern even before you came into office, so that if the interpretation of the law is ambiguous, it has to be addressed.
So they should go to court and address it, and not to use John Mahama. You see, the word they publish, that under John Mahama, people have been arrested more than under Ronaldo. It's they are doing a campaign. That's what's misleading. We are talking about law. When you think that there's a problem with the law, they should go to court and challenge it. Until that law is challenged, and anybody misbehave, it will use against him, whether it's NDC or whoever. But I'm saying that when the law is under the NPP, because we are responsible opposition, we're not misbehaving like that. That's why nobody arrested us on this one. But because we have an irresponsible opposition party today, that is why people are being arrested based on that law. So if anybody has that problem, that, okay, let's allow people to be irresponsible, and let's work on the law or go to court and then deal with the issue, fine enough. But you can't just report and say, under John Mahama, many people have been arrested under this law done under NPP 8 years. That's why I say it's misleading. And it's an irresponsible report.
Well, for the others who have condemned this as well, with this development, Manasseh Azura, for instance, is calling on the president to speak on this matter because he appointed the IGP. He appointed the director of BNI. The political office holders whose complaints have led to the arrest and detention of these persons were appointed by him. And so even though you are saying that it is the law that is just being applied and the law enforcement agencies doing their job, there are others who point to the president that because of who he is, He should not allow this to be a blot on his character and whom the person he's known to be.
So the president should write that that law should be scrapped. That's what Mazuri wants to do. When under Ronaldo, he left Ghana because Ronaldo want to arrest him. Is it Ronaldo or the police?
He is saying that the IGP, you are saying is that the security agencies doing their job. He's saying the
Yes.
IGP was appointed by the president. The BNI director was appointed by the president. The political office holders whose complaints have led to the arrest and detentions we're talking about were appointed by the president. And so it cannot be that it's just the law enforcement agencies doing their job when what they are doing reflects negatively on the president. That's according to
I believe that it means well, if you take this argument, then either we should even stop any law in this country. Then we should just behave as if we don't care. There's no law. Because either way, the president to appoint somebody. Okay? President will appoint somebody. But any of the guys that have been arrested, were they taken to John Mahama's office?
Yes,
Huh?
the police that kept them
The
in.
police.
But then
And
again,
this is
that's
the
why.
country that we believe that police must do its work. You see, Alfred, the way we are behaving, I think that we are even, I always keep saying that we are entertaining politicians, and politicians want to behave as if the laws are different from us politicians and against other peoples in this country. How many people are not in jail as cells today on the same issues that nobody talking about them?
Hold on a bit for me.
Let me add this.
Yes.
Today, the West African Media Foundation is reported about this arrest. So far, in 1 year, on 16 months today, have you ever heard that any journalist have been arrested under John Mahama?
Well, I just read to
any
you.
media man?
I read to you the number of arrests that they have captured
The
in this
arrest that you are
report.
read is people who,
There are some journalists as well. No. Jabril,
give me three. Give me
no.
who on the studio that they come to arrest them.
There are some journalists as well. There's a One to Me TV, One to Me radio journalist. I mentioned his name.
Remember when
in part of the 14.
under Ronaldo, when they published that elections will be done in 2 phases. Remember that issue? Perfect. At that time, the IGP there who arrested that media man was the John Mahama, or that the John Mahama at that time.
Jabril, hold on a bit for me. Let me bring in Haruna Mohammed. He's the Deputy General Secretary of the NPP. He's joining us on the telephone. He's been listening to you for the latter part of the submission you just made. Haruna, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Ocansey.
Great. Now, you're on the point that Jabril, your colleague, ended on. That's Madi Jabril. I'm sure you've worked with him in various areas, so you know him. He makes the point that to the extent that these persons have made statements that flies in the face of the law, it is just the law enforcement agencies doing their work and the law actually being applied, and it has nothing to do with the president or this administration. It is just the law taking its course. Haruna.
Thank you very much, Ocansey. I would like to say good afternoon or good evening to your cherished listeners, and good evening to Madi. I'm happy that Media Foundation for West Africa have unearthed the president's attitude when he was in opposition, as against his attitude and the attitude of the NDC whilst in government. I'm sure he has read the report of the Media Foundation for West Africa, where His Excellency President Mahama, then opposition leader, in 2002, wrote, and it was captioned as Growing Criminalization of Speech and Journalism in Ghana. And he pointed to one particular paragraph, and if you permit me, I read, "Your action as president has totally discredited your self-acquired accolade as a human rights lawyer and activist. Ghana has long emerged from the unfortunate past where journalists were covered or were cowed by accreditation, incarceration, and brutalization. This was an opposition leader speaking and naming the president by the works of the state institutions, just as he's alluding to today. I'm also happy that you have read to him the number of issues that has been raised by the Media Foundation's report, which goes to confirm the 16 issues that we had raised, though not the same name, but the actions of the sitting government, by extension the president, their attitude towards what is happening is what is being called out for. And I think that we must stress on the point that you cannot criminalize free speech in this country when you sought to fight same in your own imagination that free speech were being fought. So we must call a spade a spade. The president is condoning and using the state institutions to attack free speech. They don't want people to speak, more especially when it comes to opposition parties. And that is why they are doing what they are doing to the people of the NPP.
You see, how would you expect some of these instances to be addressed if applying the law, as Media Foundation has said, it is the interpretation of the law which is ambiguous, which they raise concerns with. But for you as an opposition, do you subscribe to statements, for instance, made by one of the persons who have been captured in this report as being a victim of this arrest? He said the president, John Mahama, was to blame for this helicopter crash in August that had some 8 people on it, including ministers of state. There's another person who said that he wished that the president and Sami Jemfi were on that helicopter. I mean, how would you expect that some of these instances should be?
Just say your brief. Sami Jemfi, they were on the street singing, Kumnana Domaye, Uradi Kumnana Domaye. They were arrested. I know you know the meaning. That God should kill the Nado for us in this country. That was what they were singing. Is it different from what you have just said?
So,
that was what they were saying.
But does those 2 instances make it right?
Did they arrest the person? Did the NDC ask for upgrade or reset? They are upgrading what they said they were going to reset. Because if somebody has said that Kumnana Domae, and you think that it is distasteful, and today somebody said he wished the president was on the flight, then you think that the person should be arrested, intimidated, maltreated, detained without due process, and you think that we should clap and throw flowers for the president? We will not do that.
No, I was just referencing the fact that for you, I mean, if you've referenced or cited this previous instance, do all these 2 instances make those actions right? And should it be condoned and encouraged going forward? That's where the issue is.
Yes, if the person who did it is saying that it is not right and did it, and nobody did anything to him, and in these particular circumstances, all the security officers who are being used for the arrest are not in the security services for the past 2 years, just like they have just recruited them for 2 years. They are senior officers of the security services. They were there. What did they do? If currently there's a different president who is taking cue from that and arresting people, then why not say that it is because of the actions of the president? Because there was a different president when that was said. The same security officers did not arrest them. There's a different president today. They are going to arrest the people. And you say that the president should be isolated from that? They should spare us with that. They should just stop what they are doing. They should stop it because it will not help them. They should remember that there's a day of accountability. The NDC will leave power. Even 100 years, they will leave power. And they should not expect us to come and throw flowers to them.
Honor Mohammed is Deputy General Secretary of the NPP. Honor, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Ocansey.
Dr. Jonathan Asantiocho is a political analyst. Doc, good evening.
Good evening, Alfred.
Now, these two laws that we're talking about, the Media Foundation has captured in their report, which they say should be looked at again in terms of its interpretation because it's ambiguous. There's obviously the case that no right is absolute, is it not? I mean, all freedoms have limitations. And the moment those limits are crossed, there's punishment for it. So, how, in your view, should these matters be addressed while condemning these instances of people being arrested for statements they have made? How do we also ensure that the rights being enjoyed in free speech don't cross the limit of abuse, or don't cross into the limits or the remit of abuse?
Well, Alfred, let me say good evening to your listeners and to your good self. I think the situation is a very dicey one, and gradually I am beginning to think that probably the work that West Africa, as it MFWA, Media Foundation has done is more of form than substance. I think that as a society, you have a country to build. Every country has its morals and values. And as long as others are going beyond, it doesn't matter whose ox is God, whether it is NDC's error or it is NPP's error. As long as you have traversed or gone beyond the limit, I think that the rule of law must prevail. Other than that, we are going to degenerate into some kind of chaos. And it's as if it is going to be a competition of who can insult more than the other. And that is not the kind of value system we want to build. Because if you look at the form and you ignore substance, then you are definitely going to look at what's it called, equalization. And then this was this number of this was this number of that. I think that is too simplistic, and it is devoid, of substance. The point is that whatever the current government is doing, maybe the security apparatus, whatever they are doing, is it following the rule of law? Now, if it also straddles on abuse, we must equally, condemn that, because this idea of somebody using abusive language, threatening that when we come to power, you're also going to do the same, then it means that you want this person who is in power to ensure that he kills you before you come to power. That is not the way to build, a democracy and a society. Look, I've said that the two main political parties must have something in mind. They must bear in mind that their total number on their register is not up to 1.5 million. Both parties, they don't have 1.5 million, voters on their own register. They don't have that. But when we vote and you have over 6 million and the other one has over 5 million, that 3 million addition or 3.5 million addition, that comes to add up to the list of 10 members of the two main political parties. Who are those people? These are the people who are the non-aligned. They are the undecided. They are the floating voters. So they are more concerned about one, government ensuring that interest rate coming down, government ensuring that inflation has come down, because these are the very things that go to everybody, all and sundry, knowing very well that the city is not, depreciating against the dollar and other major currencies, for which reason things, commodities on the market are affordable. Those are the things that this category, these demographics that I have outlined, think about. It is not the die-in-the-wool type of partisan politics that we've been ushered into. I believe that, look, if there are excesses, we must condemn that. If somebody has been picked up because he said that doing so is bad, I think that is gross abuse of state power. But not the kind of pronouncement of fancy comedy, Adua whatever, Adua Jollof, and then Abronye and the rest that you can mention them. These things struggle. There is a thin line between freedom of speech and abuse of it. So I am finally thinking that it could be a kind of entrapment as a way of distracting the current government from focusing on delivering, the mandate that had been given to them by the people of the country. So it is either they also deploy a particular political strategy of ignoring them. Because if you ignore them, well, they can go ahead. You have moderate people within this country that know that you are delivering. That is what Professor Lumumba would tell you, that if a politician spends 1 hour telling you the kinds of things that is done, you should shut up. He's not done anything. Because whatever you have done, the citizens are aware of that. And that, for me, is the middle way, to solving this problem, because it would then be somebody outlining the kinds of abuses that they suffered in the previous regime, and then this current one, the current opposition, they're also outlining the kinds of abuses that they think they are equal suffering. But if, for example, a former president can put behind bars youth of numbering about 39 and 50, remand them for 2 solid weeks and more when they were on a good course of fighting against Galamsey. I think that if West African Media for Foundation, whatever, is outlining a list of that nature, they must equally look at substance instead of just mere form.
Dr. Jonathan Sanchoche, thank you very much for joining us here on Hotedition. Appreciate
Thank you, Alfred.
He's a political analyst, also a lecturer at the University of Cape Coast, Dr. Jonathan Sanchoche. Away from that, some sad news we're picking. The Pilgrims Affairs Office of Ghana has confirmed the death of a Ghanaian pilgrim, Musa Sidi, aged 53 years, who passed away while performing the Tawaf ritual at the Grand Mosque in Mecca. According to the office, the pilgrim collapsed during the Kaaba ritual, a key rite of the Hajj pilgrimage in which worshippers move in a circular pattern around the sacred structure, and died shortly afterwards. The Pilgrims Affairs of Ghana stated that the family of the deceased has been formally notified, while arrangements are being made for the late pilgrim's body to be prepared for Janazah prayers following the Jummah prayers, after which burial will take place in line with Islamic tradition. So we have a copy of that statement. If you go on 3news.com, you'll find it. The office extended its condolences to the bereaved family, friends, and fellow pilgrims, praying for Allah to forgive the deceased and grant him eternal peace. In Janatwa prayers said about an hour ago. So that's the development right now in Mecca. This has been confirmed by the Pilgrims Affairs Office of Ghana, confirming the death of a Ghanaian pilgrim, Musa Sidi, age 53, who passed away while performing the Tawaf ritual at the Grand Mosque in Mecca. We're still keeping an eye on how things are unfolding there in Mecca, but we got some information as well from the Ghana Police Service, which we will be putting out shortly as well, details of which came through in a statement which we have a copy of on 3news.com. 8 suspects have been arrested in connection with the killing of a Queen Mother at Atebu. The police have announced a major breakthrough in investigations into the killing of the Queen Mother of Abamba in the Atebu area of the Bono East region. Addressing the media, the Inspector General of Police, Christian Teteyono, said the Ghana Police Service has, over the past year, intensified intelligence-led operations across the country, leading to the arrest of several suspects linked to violent crimes. The IGP added that police have also made progress in tackling online crime, including scams and threats circulating on social media. He said continuous operations in Atebu had made it difficult for criminals to operate freely in the area, noting that intelligence-led swoops and patrols had led to multiple arrests, while some suspects engage in police shootouts as well. And that's what you'll see there. We'll hear from the IGP now.
A safe haven for their activities. Through intelligence-led operations, including swoops, several suspects have been arrested. Those who were daring enough to engage the police in shootouts received the appropriate response, and others were compelled to flee from the town. These operations will continue so that law-abiding citizens of the town can live their lives and carry out their normal business activities without any fear of criminal attacks. Today, I'm happy to announce that we have made yet another major breakthrough in our investigation into 2 major cases in the region. We have successfully arrested persons who shot and killed Nana Sewa Jankuma, the Queen Mother of Abamba, on 25th February 2026 at her residence here at Atebubu. We have also arrested 6 suspects in connection with the fatal armed robbery at the GB Oil filling station near Atebubu on 2nd May 2026, which resulted in the death of 2 persons and left 2 others with gunshot injuries. In both cases, the key suspects have voluntarily confessed to the crime. In addition, through other cogent evidence available to the police, we have been able to link the suspects to the crime. In both cases, as soon as the incidents were reported to me, I deployed a team of intelligence officers from the Police Intelligence Directorate, the Cyber Vetting and Enforcement Team, and officers from the Anti-Armed Robbery Unit to support the Regional Command and a manhunt for the perpetrators. The team, under the strategic guidance, followed a lot of leads and arrested some persons in connection with both cases. In the case of Nana Sewa Jankuma, the Queen Mother of Abamba, we had a breakthrough in the case when the police at Kaswa arrested some suspects for preparation to commit crime and robbery. Following intensive interrogation, one of the suspects, Abdul Razak Ibrahim Langa, alias Zak, informed police that he knew about that murder case. He also indicated to police that the ghost of the Queen Mother had been tormenting him and as such wanted to confess everything. Upon further interrogation, suspect Nana Yao Bediako, alias Nana Yao, was identified as the person who shot the Queen Mother. He confessed to the crime and mentioned suspect Nana Ousu Sankofi II, also known in private life as Charles Kofi Ousu, the chief of Akokwa, as the one who contracted them to kill the Queen Mother, with a promise to pay them 50,000 Ghana cedis. Further investigation led to a convicted prisoner, Ishaku Alasan, alias Sule Yagani, who is currently serving a prison sentence at Akafo Maximum Security Prison, but in custody at the Sunyani Central Prison pending an appeal hearing of his conviction. 2 other suspects, Emmanuel Jiman Dako, the Abakoma Hinin of Akokwa, and Bukari Amadou, a driver, have also been arrested in connection with the case.
That's the IGP Christian Tete Yohono there addressing the press. This is Hotedition on 3FM 92.7. We're also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. We're also on 3FM 927 on Facebook and on YouTube. The Ghana Police Service there giving us updates on the latest regarding investigations into the killing of the Queen Mother. The security officers under the Teacher Education Workers Union, TEU, have also been talking. We will get into that shortly here on Hotedition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions are welcome. Read out to you and to the rest of the world. Let's get into some more stories here on Hotedition on 3FM 92.7. The security officers under the Teachers and Educational Workers Union have been directed not to work on weekends and public holidays over the non-payment of allowances dating back to 2012. TEU says more than 4,000 members have endured years of financial hardship following the cancellation of overtime, weekend and public holiday allowances under the single spine salary structure. It says despite repeated petitions to authorities including the Ministry of Finance, its members are yet to receive the allowances captured in the conditions of service. King James Azotiba is General Secretary of TEU. Is going to be joining us for some quick one on this, but to take a listen to Emmanuel Techi, who's the Municipal Director of Education, Ayawaso North, that's a municipal assembly, and this is what he had to say.
things that I want to share with you, you need to know that one way or the other, our members are at fault. We have rights and responsibilities. Your rights should go with your responsibilities. Sure. We have issues with you on leaves in GS. Not because we have, but you have caused it to happen. You know, the teaching staff has a structured system where sometimes they may close at 2 o'clock. But let's go to the table offices. By 2 o'clock, some table members will carry their bags and go home. Some teaching services work demands that when you have the period, you come. Is that the same thing happening? And I hope the same thing is also happening with the table members. Sometimes, some of them, I'm using the word some because it's not all of them, are the last people to come to work. We are talking about leaves. I have 28 days leave, 36 as a director. But in GES, 2 members, junior staff, have also 36 days. That's the condition I'm coming. What makes the difference? Vacation office staffs are not on leave. Vacation office staffs, I'm an office staff, so I'm not on leave on vacation. Yeah. But I was once discussing this with my members in my office, telling them it seems you're overstaying, which is from 8 to 5, is causing the extension of your 36 days. So if you are in your office and you are behaving like a teacher, tell members, put yourself in my shoe. Will you please?
So that's the Ayawaso North Municipal Director of Education. But let's take a listen to King James Azotiba, who is General Secretary of the Teacher and Educational Workers Union, on this matter of the security officers and the TAWU being directed not to work on weekends and public holidays over the non-payment of allowances dating back to 2012.
In many public institutions, non-teaching staff are often treated as an afterthought. Sister Chair, the recognition of their rules, that's the rules of women who form 80%, is non-negotiable. We are not going to negotiate about it. If we are serious about quality education delivery and outcomes, denying women fair treatment undermines the very foundation of learning and decent work. Sister Chair, quality education requires an inclusive approach that values all workers, not only teachers. Governments and institutions must invest holistically, recruit and train education support personnel, enforce labor laws equitably, and include the voices in all policy dialogues. Sister Chair, TAWU calls on government, the university councils, and school management to adopt gender-responsive budgets.
You heard there the Ayawaso North Director, that's the King James Azotiba, is General Secretary of the Teachers and Educational Workers Union. The Public Accounts Committee of Parliament is asking government to publish reports of arrears, outstanding claims, and financial commitments to strengthen fiscal discipline and improve expenditure control. It comes after the Auditor General disallowed questionable payment claims worth 8.5 billion cedis submitted by ministries and state agencies in 2024 due to fake invoices, duplicate entries, and missing documentation. Christian Yale reports that the committee has ended its zonal hearings with a final report soon expected.
Honorable, I'm also a member of parliament. Don't do this. Please, please, I am on the floor, Honorable.
I understand.
Let me make my point. No, you won't heckle me. Don't play sentiment.
You, but when you come here and we address issues, it is not that we want to take anybody down. Never. You and I will go beyond this.
The final zonal hearing of the Public Accounts Committee started on a rather dramatic note when the Communications Minister clashed with the chairperson over concerns about network connectivity challenges, one that would remain a major highlight. The Sports Ministry was faulted for payment irregularities concerning the 2023 African Games, as well as the Foreign Affairs Ministry's underutilization of Ghana's mission building in New York.
Coordinating directors, finance officers, and the revenue superintendent, you guys are going to pay that amount of money.
Several infractions spanning from cash, procurement, asset and stores, sanitation and other irregularities were flagged, raising serious concerns about management of public funds. Some officials were surcharged to refund huge sums of money unaccounted for, with few referrals to the Attorney General over procurement breaches. Chairperson Abinosi Asare says government must institutionalize annual publication of these financial reports.
The committee wishes to strongly emphasize that government must institutionalize the annual publication of all arrears, outstanding claims, and commitments. Transparency in this area is critical. Regular disclosure will improve fiscal credibility, strengthen expenditure control, and reduce the need for recurring special audits of this nature.
Delivering her closing remarks to end the hearing, she charged the Finance Ministry to find cost-effective means to train public officials on the amended Public Financial Management Act.
The committee remains deeply concerned about recurring infractions within the public service, including unsupported expenditures, procurement breaches, weak internal controls, delayed retirement of interest, payroll irregularities, and in some instances, the deliberate padding of invoices and inflation of claims.
Ending that report by Christian Yale. This is Hotedition on 3FM 92.7. We're live as well on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. We're back shortly with the latest in the world of business. Bismarck Ewusa is standing by.
One head.
Hello, good evening and welcome to the business segment on Hotedition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck. Also coming up, Ghana's fixed income market turnover rises to 1.51 billion cedis as treasury bills, DDEP bonds lead liquidity. Thanks for your company. Now to the details. Trading activity on the Ghana fixed income market, GIFIM, saw a significant boost on Thursday, May 21, 2026, closing with a total turnover of 1.51 billion cedis. The session, which spanned 490 trades, were heavily driven by short-term government papers and structured secondary market transactions. There is more in the following three business news desk report. Transactions in government notes and bonds anchored the day's liquidity, leading the market with a volume of 798.37 billion cedis across 74 trades. Treasury bills also maintained strong momentum, contributing 513.02 million cedis from 395 trades, signaling sustained investor appetite for short-term government debt. Meanwhile, secondary market activity in domestic debt exchange program DDEP bonds recorded 196.23 million cedis from 10 trades, while corporate bonds saw a quieter session, bringing in 6.99 million cedis across 11 trades. Notably, there were 0 outright trades recorded for both old and new Government of Ghana notes and bonds during the session. In the sell buyback segment, a few major transactions dominated the floor. The largest chunk of liquidity came from the GOG bond point 10 paper, which posted 328.8 million cedis across 11 trades, closing at a yield of 13.98% and a weighted average price of 81.1241. Other prominent trades included the GOG bond point 55, which brought in 190.05 million cedis at a yield of 14.43%, and the GOG bond point 95, which recorded 130.3 million cedis at a 13.88% yield. And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, GNCCI, is urging businesses in the country to make a cautious effort to integrate artificial intelligence into their operations or risk becoming obsolete, as the technology, it says, is set to dominate Ghana's economy in the near future. Speaking at the Chamber's Business Awards launch, Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber, Mark Bedu-Abuaji, stressed that AI must be adopted as it would help enhance efficiency and reduce the cost of operations.
AI is very relevant. That is the average Ghanaian business. Probably is now catching up with us. But with certain sectors like the financial sector and the insurance sector, AI is driving those sectors. And I'm sure that within the shortest possible time, all the manufacturing sector, the agri sector is going to be driven by AI. So AI is the tool for development now. For manufacturing sector, it's being turned around a lot of key activities. So for businesses, as I said, we are encouraging them to adopt AI, because in the next 2, 3, 4 years, AI will drive the economy. So the earlier you adopt AI, the better it will be for you. It will help you reduce your cost of production. It will help you to also increase your profitability, and the economy will benefit and all of us will benefit. So AI is the key now, is the way now.
Chief Executive of the Ghana National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mark Bedu-Abuaji, bringing us to the end of the business segment on Hotedition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Bismarck. Also, for more business stories, please check out our website 3news.com. Andrew Sefa is here for sports news. Please stay.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hotedition on 3FM 92.7 with me, Andrew Sefa Bamfo. Let's start off from the Ghana Premier League, where the battle for survival has reached its concluding point, with Nations FC, Swedro All Blacks and Young Apostles vying to stay in the league. My colleague Mutala Yakubu takes a closer look at the fight for survival ahead of the final game week.
It's the final lap of the Ghana Premier League this weekend. We know that the title has already been wrapped up by Mediema, but we do not know which team would be joining Ho United and 11 Wonders to be relegated. As it stands, 3 teams are in danger: Swedro All Blacks, Young Apostles, and Nations FC. Now here is the dynamics. Swedro All Blacks are playing their final game against Asante Kotoko, which is a must-win game for them at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. Should they fail to win, and Young Apostles and Nations FC win their games, it means that Swedro All Blacks will be going back to Division 1 after struggling to qualify into the Premier League, where they spent 16 years, and they will be going back so soon. For Nations FC, it's a must-win game for them against Karela in Tamale, because if they fail to win and All Blacks get a draw even against Asante Kotoko, All Blacks will be staying in the league and Nations FC will be relegated. Not much is being said about Young Apostles, who also need a win themselves, but they are playing home against Samatex, and usually at the Winchi, they get the win. So it's more or less between All Blacks and Nations FC. It's must-win games for them this weekend. Nations must defeat Karela in Tamale, and All Blacks must find a way to defeat Asante Kotoko, also at the Barbara Sports Stadium. But should both games end in a draw, because All Blacks currently have 42 points and Nations have 41 points, it means that Nations will go down. So for Nations FC, no option for them than to win and hope Kotoko will do them a favor against All Blacks.
So that was a comprehensive report by my colleague Mutala Yakubu on how things stand in the Ghana Premier League with regards to the relegation battle. But let's move on to some national team updates, where the Black Stars assistant coach Desmond Ofer will lead Ghana in the international friendly against Mexico in Puebla, following the absence of head coach Carlos Queiroz due to personal reasons. Now, Ofer, who has supervised the team's preparation since arrival in Mexico, will be assisted by goalkeepers trainer Daniel Gaspar and set-piece coach and video analyst Gregory De Gras. The match forms part of Ghana's preparations for the 2026 World Cup, where the Black Stars will face Panama, England and Croatia in the group stage. Now, still speaking about the Black Stars, former midfielder Emmanuel Ajimambedu says he remains patient and confident that the technical team will make the right decisions ahead of the Mundial. Now, according to Ajimambedu, every Ghanaian is eager to see the final list, but the coaches must be given enough time to select the best players to represent the nation on football's biggest stage.
I'm patiently waiting for the list. For the timing, in my opinion, I don't think the coach will go for 55 players. I don't know what his plans is, but because of the timing and how close the tournament is, I'm very optimistic he will go for his 26 or maybe 30 players for us to be focused and to know this is the kind of players we are going with. However, if we go with the 56, has been rumor outside there, I won't have any problem. But for now, the list out there, I know most of the players will be in. For the timing, I don't think most of the players we had use them in the qualifiers. He will be able to change a lot. Maybe after this friendly game against Mexico, he will try and get one or two to add up to the team, because we lost somebody like Kudus and Salisu in the team, so he will need a substitute. But we are here to support. He's very new. His managerial skills and the experience he have will help us a lot.
And so that was former Black Stars midfielder Emmanuel Ajimambedu speaking. Elsewhere, England manager Thomas Tuchel says it was difficult to maintain some key players from his final World Cup squad. Tuchel named his 26-man squad earlier on Friday, leaving out Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, and Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Tuesday, yeah, because it went on for weeks, and no matter how we twisted it and shook it up and tried it, it was always 27 somehow. On Monday we finalized it, had one last sleep, and decided on Tuesday that we stick with it, and then we informed the players Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. There were a couple of difficult ones, as you can imagine, if you read the list of names and talents that we left out. And telling them was not easy, and was kind of painful. Seeing their reactions, seeing them getting emotional, was not easy. But I think it had to be done, and it had to be done in person. We're trying to build a team. We're trying to select the best team, because what we're trying to achieve can only be achieved as a team. So this was.
So that was England manager Thomas Tuchel speaking, bringing an end to the sports segment here on Hotedition on 3FM 92.7 and Hotedition here on 3FM 92.7. For more updates in the world of news, business and sports, do join us same time next week. My name is Andrew Sifa Bamfo.